Welcome to Optometry Divas, where we empower, connect, and promote the success of women ODs. One of the ways we do that is through our Diva of the Week feature. And today, I'm excited to have with me Dr. Kristin Bever. Kristin, welcome. I'm so glad you're here with us today.
Hello, glad to be here.
Well, good. So Kristin, I'm just going to ask you a few questions about yourself so you can share a little bit about you and we can get to know you a little bit. You said you were born in Longwood, Florida, so you are a native Floridian?
I am, yes, born and raised in Florida.
Really? And then you went to school also in Nova, so you've always been in Florida since the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you go to college, undergrad outside of Florida?
Nope, I went to UCF, so right here.
So tell us a little bit about your little boy. You said you have this beautiful little guy named Daniel.
Yes, so I have a 1-year-old named Daniel. Yeah, it's just been fun.
The joy of your life.
Yes, yeah. Keeps me on my toes.
In your feature, you said that you always wanted to help people in the medical field. And when you were 16, you had your first eye exam and got glasses. So I'm curious as to why that happened at 16. Did you just develop a vision problem or?
Well, I never had an eye exam before, but I did notice having trouble seeing the board in school. And I just had like a very slight nearsighted prescription. So I just needed glasses kind of as needed. But I went to the optometrist and it was a young woman. And I said, oh, maybe that's something that I'd be interested in. So it kind of inspired me. And then in college, I followed another OD and really enjoyed it. So that's kind of what I went with.
In your feature, you said you worked full time while you went to optometry school. Tell us about that. How did you do that?
Well, I'd always worked through undergrad, so I was used to working and going to school. So it wasn't really anything different for me. So when I moved down to Fort Lauderdale, I just decided to get a job, and I'd always been either serving or bartending, being in the restaurant business. So, you know, I could still go to school and then, you know, lab. And then right after that, I'd go right to work and then work and come home, study on downtime. But it's definitely possible. It just keeps you busy, but
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, because most students always feel if they're in school, they don't have enough time to get a job. They have to spend all their time studying. How did you manage that workload and your work schedule?
So I think working in the restaurant industry was good because the shifts, you know, start later and they're shorter and you make pretty good money in a short amount of time. So you just, you know, work and then come home and study on the days that you're off. So I'd usually have like Sunday off and our test would be on Monday. So Sunday was like my study day.
Did that help you reduce the amount of loans that you took?
I think it did. I definitely think that it did. I still obviously had a lot of student loan debt from optometry school, not from undergrad, but from optometry school. But I think that if I didn't work, it would have been a lot more.
Do you think that being in that environment really helped you develop the people skills that's important as a practitioner?
I do. So when you are in the industry and like bartending, you just kind of build relationships with people. You have regulars and, you know, you're talking to them, and it's the same thing like talking to your patients. It's different, you know, topics, but you're still building those relationships with your customers or your patients. So I think that helped a lot, especially since I'm a little on the quieter side. So it kind of, you know, made me open up a little bit more.
What did you do after that? What type of practice did you do once you got out of school?
So I started out working, like filling in for doctors here and there, just, you know, taking what I could get. And then I had the opportunity of a Target lease opening in Stanford. And that's where I worked for 8.5 years. So that's kind of where I've worked the majority of my time. That's where I started out. And then my husband owns his own business and kind of encouraged me to open my own business. So, because I was a little apprehensive. Yeah. So with his support, then kind of made the leap into private practice and started planning. And it does take a while to kind of plan everything and kind of get all your ducks in a row. And then we opened a year ago.
Now, having done corporate optometry for such a long time and being in private practice for about a year, what would you say is the biggest difference that you're noticing so far?
I feel like there's a lot of differences. Just you have more control is the biggest thing. Because when you're in a corporate setting, you don't have any control of the optical or the staff or anything like that. My biggest thing is, I want a great staff that is like family, and want to be very welcoming and all of. Sometimes you don't have that at the corporate setting, but you don't have any control of changing it either. So with having a private practice, I feel like that's the biggest plus, is that you're in charge of who you work with and the environment that you have, because you're there a long time. It's like your second family.
What would you say are some of the challenges you've seen transitioning into private practice?
It's just learning. I mean, there's so much to learn. Coming from a corporate setting, I didn't really know much about all the lenses and different, types of progressive and different coatings. And, I knew the basics and what to recommend, but I didn't realize, I didn't even know the options and pricing and insurances and all the different insurances. You have to use different lenses, and really that's the biggest learning curve, because that's something when you're in a corporate setting, you're not really exposed to the optical side of it.
What was that like, managing being a mom and, taking care of a newborn and running your practice at the same time?
I kind of see it going back to when I worked in school, I'm just so used to always being busy with so many different things that it wasn't too difficult. And luckily, being in the private practice setting, I actually had a nursery there in my office.
Oh,
transition easier, because he came with me when he was really little, and my mom came and helped with him. So that was nice.
so were you ever in the exam room with a patient and then you just heard, ah?
Yeah, a couple times. Yeah, but I mean, the patients were understanding. I just said, no, I have a nursery here and the baby's there, but we have a big space, so it didn't happen too often. But sometimes if we woke up, then my mom had to run in there.
The last question I have for you is that you said in Orlando or in Florida, Central Florida, it's very saturated with optometrists. So most people would think there's no way you can open another private practice in there. So what would you say to somebody like that? Obviously, you're proving that to be wrong. If they're in a saturated area, but they're thinking of private practice, what would you tell them to help them take that leap, and what would help them stand out?
I just think you have to find ways to make yourself stand out, either by the services that you provide or the products that you provide, or and then word of mouth. So if you have, a great staff that people love and enjoy to come see you, then they'll tell their friends. And, I think that if you feel like you have something somebody else doesn't, then, you could be successful.
If you would give an advice to a student in optometry school, what would you tell them to do? Advice to a student right now.
I would tell them to enjoy every minute, because it goes by so fast. When you're in it, it seems like it's terrible and forever, but it really flies by. And I made, my best friends in optometry school. So just enjoy it.
I'm really excited for you and for the practice and for the growth and the success that you're experiencing. And I'm excited that you got to be the Diva of the Week this week.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for hanging out with me for a few minutes and just for sharing. Thank you all for watching. And as always, I always remind all of you to continue to empower, connect, and promote each other's success.